Welcome to the first edition of the Lightly Salted podcast. I'm your host, Dylan, with co-host Sarah and special guest Abigail. Today's topic will be gender equality. So, fair warning, content will be salting as well as triggering for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, God.
Fucking trigger me.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'd have to say the first thing in gender equality is, if we want true equality, not just giving custody of a child to a woman just because they're the woman, just because they're the mother.
My life would have been so much better if I ended up with my dad instead of my mom. That's just a statement. Anyway.
Let's see, you wouldn't need gender equality if people didn't put boundaries on genders. See, there you go.
All I'm saying, a girl gets raped and it's like, there's outrage and there's everything. If, like, a guy gets raped or sexually harassed,
See, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not all about the girls, it's about the guys, too. If a guy gets raped, it should be equally as a big thing, just as a woman getting raped.
Equally as disgusted for everyone. It's just...
Like, with this whole past week with that Katy Perry thing with her kissing, a 18, he's either 17 or 18-year-old guy, and people didn't bat an eye really at it at all. But if that was, like, a 30-something-year-old man kissing a 17, 18-year-old kid, the whole world would blow the fuck up. Like, gender equality should be both about men and women, not just...
when you're famous like that, you could just kiss them, and they'll just let you.
Yeah, even encourage it. They'd probably pay you to. That's the sad
Okay, now
part.
we're getting a little too political here.
Yeah. God. But yeah, so gender equality should be... Because I think that's the biggest problem with gender equality, is that they've made it all about women, And I understand, we as women, we are held back from certain rights that men have, like, being paid the same, and things like that. So that I understand, but it's also, men kind of need it too, because if a man does get raped, let's say that happens, they're ashamed because, they're supposed to be the man, they're supposed to be macho man, that can't happen to them, that can't happen to a man. If you got raped by a girl, you're a pussy, but if it's a girl, oh, the poor victim,
What I'm a little pissed at was a while back when they, made it so that women also have to apply for the draft, and then, like, so many women were like, this isn't the equal rights you want, and it's like, no, you wanted equal rights. This is equal rights. This is being held to the same standard.
That is very true. Yeah, because they just recently, this wasn't too long ago that they ended up letting women in the army. Well,
Army Rangers, I think it was.
Armed services. Yeah, because they let women in the Navy and stuff like that, too.
Yeah, like, women been able, but there were, like, certain fields that they weren't.
They weren't allowed in, yeah.
Yeah, like, I think, what was it, Army Rangers and other things?
Yeah, something like that.
But now they are, so.
It's crazy. Well, because you gotta kind of wonder, then, what gender equality was like back in the old days. Like, yeah, you knew women, friggin' had to cook, clean, had the babies, and that was about it, But you also have to wonder how it was for men, too, because...
we also have to realize back in those times, inflation wasn't as high, and typically you could, just on the guy's paycheck, support a family of, like, 2 or 3. But in today's age, you really can't do that.
Well, I'm not even saying about that. I'm just saying, like we said, like, when certain things happen to men, were they ever even discussed like they are now?
I don't think really anything was discussed as it is now, or maybe it was. Who knows?
That's just
it's just we didn't have sites like Tumblr for it to be obvious.
Or the news
loud.
or TV or things like that. I think gender equality is just kind of fucked if you look on it from either side. Because there's certain things that men should be able to do that they really can, and then there's certain things women should be able to do that they're kind of limited on as well.
The new age of feminism is just fucked, though.
Oh, definitely.
They are anti-men.
Oh, yes.
For me, it's like, okay, the first wave of feminism, which was getting the right to vote.
Yeah.
Important.
But,
The second wave of feminism, arguing, like, equal pay and the need of women in the workforce. And then the third wave of feminism just saying that both of you are wrong, and there's no such thing as a female and there's no such thing as a male, and like essence of femininity is bullshit. I'm just like, no.
For me, I liked what Abby was touching on with the whole feminist thing. Like, it's just, just because that we choose to live our lives a certain way, what if someone likes being a stay-at-home mom? That's completely, that's cool. Like, hey, my mother was a stay-at-home mom.
I mean, as long as you can support it, that's fine.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, but why does my mother get looked at as a somehow, bad mom because she's not wanting to work and she wants to be at home with her 3 kids, but people just see that as, oh, she's lazy. No, she's not fucking lazy, because she's taking us to school, making sure we get to whatever practices we have to go to. She's making sure we're fed when my dad's on a business trip. So to me, that does not make her lazy. And she does things while we're out of the house. She'll go teach Zumba classes. She'll go do photography. So to say that certain women, just because they like having a certain lifestyle, makes them, not real feminists is complete bullshit.
I mean, for me, the current era of it's not so much being pro-women as...
It's just anti-men.
Yeah, and
and not all men are bad. That's the thing. Yeah. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, the worst part is you're either fitting into what they say or you're against them. Exactly. There's no ground to debate.
Like, if we all agreed with these women, we'd probably all be lesbian at this point. Like, I hate saying that because I love the LGBTQ community and I don't want that to come off the wrong way, but it's the truth. Just because not all women agree the same way doesn't make us any less different. Like, I'm sorry you're better than me, Margot, just because you choose to hate men, Sorry, I like my husband, so... Like, sorry, Margot, not my problem.
Just because you just don't want to put in that energy to go out there and talk to a guy because, oh no, they'll rape me. Oh my God.
Exactly. And that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Is like women will blow this shit out of proportion, and it's so crazy to me. These are the women that are like, oh my God, he talked to her in a bad way. He's sexually harassing her when he just said hi. Like, girl. No wonder why men get so scared of women nowadays, because they're going to be like, shit, I've had to say hi to this chick. I'm going to be, like, accused of sexual harassment. Like,
I saw a video on YouTube a while ago where this guy who was working on a house or something, this lady was driving by and he said, hey, have a nice day or something like that. And she parks her car in the middle of the street, gets out and starts recording him, saying, how dare you say hi to me? How dare you look at me like that?
Oh my God.
It was insane. I watched the whole thing because it was so damn hilarious. And, when he starts calling the police, she jumps back in her car because she knows she's doing wrong. Sorry.
But that's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous, because if a man cries rape, God forbid a man feels sexually harassed, people just be like, yo, suck it up, you wuss. That's... How is that being gender equal, But that's the biggest thing about these feminists nowadays that drives me insane. I am all for gender equality and I'm all for feminism, but don't jump down my throat just because we have different views when it comes to feminism.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, like... Some guys just want to stay at home, and some women really want to work. You have stay-at-home dads.
Exactly, and I think either men or women can be the stay-at-home parent. Heck, if you both have a job that supports you both staying at home, that's freaking great.
I mean, hey, look at these really upper class or richer families. That's what they do, and nobody bats an eye. But if it's a working class where, it's really bad because this is how it was not even 100 years ago, and some people just prefer, some people just want to stay at home. So, if you work, I can tell you right now, you miss out. You're there a lot for your kids, but you miss out on a lot of your kid's life if you work, and you can't, it can be tiring just working, so...
And that's what's so crazy to me, that, because when I found out in one of my classes, women in other countries get about a whole year off for maternity leave. Other, women in the U.S., I think it's just a couple months that you get with your kid. And the kid is still a baby pretty much.
And even then, you have to be working a certain place long enough to get maternity leave.
Yeah. So that's completely crazy to me.
Because with Asa, with one of his coworkers, she wasn't there long enough to get maternity leave. So when she was going to have the kid, she... like, quit, but they said they'd, like, bring her back on after, she was good to come back.
And did they bring her back on?
I think they did.
Well, see, that's good. See, that I can understand. But for me, it's just, these are times that you learn in certain classes, you need to be there for children at certain points in their lives. And being literally a newborn into the world, they need their mom, and so to not give women that time off is kind of a big deal, because you're taking them away from a child that needs them at that time. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying children never need their parents, but there's certain points that they need them the most, and that is one of those times.
You can't just, like, have a kid and then
say,
like 3 weeks later start dumping it off on, like, family or friends to watch them so you can go back to work and support that kid.
Exactly. So, but yeah.
I mean, I don't know if a year is, like, good, but definitely more than, like, a couple months.
I just want it to be known. I have nothing against feminists. It's just, now I see where men got that whole thing of feminazi, because some of them can be really extreme with certain things.
I mean, I consider myself a feminist.
Exactly.
Like, I look at some of these people who are talking about their feminist views, I'm just like, you are clinically insane, my friend.
Exactly, yeah. Like, you have fun with that, Patricia. You go on, girl. You go do your thing. I'll be over here doing my thing with my husband.
Exactly.
Like, I will happily sit at home eating bonbons with my kids while he's at work. Like,
yes,
you don't got to tell me twice.
I mean, for me, as long as I'm able to support an entire family on my paycheck alone, I don't care if my wife would be a stay-at-home mom. That's their choice, pretty much. Yeah.
But it's crazy to me, because these women nowadays are like, well, you should be working. You should be in the workplace. Why is your husband the only one working? You're lazy. No, I'm not.
Because I want to spend my time with my kids, and my husband supports us and also does what he fucking enjoys at the same time.
Exactly. And, like, even with me, with, like, my husband being in the Army, being all the way in Texas, and me being here, I still work, but, yeah, I get my weekends off. I don't work the weekends, but somehow that's still considered being lazy when my husband's busting his ass over there being in the Army, and I'm just here, That's what I don't get, Gender equality is just... Do I think it'll ever, like, really exist? Probably not. And it's not because it can't.
Because it's really hard to compare.
Yeah.
Like, a new mother versus a new dad. Which one does the kid need more? The mom. So the mom can't go back. But the dad...
It is nice to have the dad there. It really is, But the mom at the end of the day is the one who's, like, having to feed the baby. Like, if they're doing the breastfeeding and things like that. And, But I think both parents are needed at that point,
Something I discussed when I was in high school about this was actually how it seems like it's with a lot of, like, equal rights with everyone. It seems more or less like instead of becoming equal, it's like a pendulum. It was at one point, but instead of being right in the middle, now we're on the other side. I mean, we see this even with race. I mean, like, if a guy were to degrade someone of color or degrade a woman, like, that's a huge problem. That's not okay. People are going to be up in arms about this. But if a woman or a person of color were to degrade, like, a white guy, there's no problem
white male
there.
Scum.
God.
So, I mean, in certain ways, it has become unbalanced in favor of the other side now. And hopefully in time, it'll come a bit back more to the middle and be close to
I think
equal.
it's going to sway all the way to the other side before it comes back. Just like it was originally. But the reverse. And then it'll come back. Then maybe people will settle the fuck down. Who knows? Or maybe it'll just do it again. Oh, yay. I don't think the human race is capable of...
Equality?
Yeah. There's always going to be someone who's racist or sexist or whatever. It's like, we'd all have to be raised together in mass in order not to hate at least something.
And you know what ticks me off even more is when people who are very, and you know what, I have nothing against religion. Everyone's religion is their religion, and hey, I would completely respect that. But what gets to me, especially living in this state, is these people like, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. I'm like, what does it matter to you? Yeah. Like, are you the one, going to bed with that person every single night? Is it somehow affecting your life in some way? Then if it's not, then don't fucking worry about it. Like, it's not your issue. If they're not forcing their lifestyle onto you, what does it matter?
I mean,
you don't have to attend the Pride Parade. You can just stay home.
Yeah, they're not asking you to go to their wedding. They probably don't want you there anyway, Rick.
All they're asking is just to be able to be married.
Yeah.
They're asking for basic human rights.
Exactly.
And I mean, for me, like, I'm very much science-oriented. And I have to say, like, if you look in other animal species, there's homosexuality. It helps with population control, for one, which is, unfortunately, something we are probably going to be needing in the next century or so. Because we're an ever-expanding race with no check.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is nothing to keep our population in check. I mean, there are things that can kill us. There are animals that can kill us.
Yeah.
But we don't have any natural predators that actively seek us out.
But, the only thing with me when it comes to any couple, I don't care if it's straight, gay, or what have you, the only thing that ever bothers me about couples is when they're literally right in my face or in my peripheral vision, literally making out, about to have, like, sex right in front of, like, the entire grocery store or something. That's the only thing that gets me. Like, I'm down with you guys sharing a pop kiss, holding hands, all that kind of stuff. But if you're about to jump each other's bones, please just, like, go get a room or go to your car.
Doesn't matter what kind of couple it is.
Yeah, I don't care what kind of couple it is. Like, just go do that in private. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you have that love in your life.
I'm gonna give you a minute, but
but you don't need to be sucking face in the middle of the grocery store.
I'm not trying to have a subscription to Brazzers right in front of me. Like, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Like, I don't care what kind of couple you are. I'll feel the same way about any couple. But yeah, that's just crazy to me.
I feel like we're really off topic.
Yeah, we got so off topic.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. We could take this conversation wherever we want. Just because it started one place doesn't mean we ended one place. Just because we started in an Italian restaurant doesn't mean we can't end up at a Mexican restaurant.
God.
What the fuck?
Oh my God. You know what another thing that bothers me? Okay, so when they hear me speak Spanish, their first thought is, oh my God, you speak Mexican?
Oh my
Mexican
God.
is not a language, I will have you know. It is called Spanish.
It's called Spanish. It came from Spain, other Spanish-speaking countries.
Yes.
Almost all of South America, a lot of Latin America, Cuba, I believe Puerto Rico as well.
Colombia. But, like, I'll admit, every single Spanish-speaking area has their own dialect.
It's like English. I mean, if you know it well enough, you can literally tell what Spanish-speaking country somebody's from the way they speak it.
See, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, in the South, people expect you to talk like,
hey, y'all.
Mama.
Oh my God.
There's my truck, Mama. Exactly.
That's Northerners, like New Yorkers, you expect them to sound like Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Like, and it's not that Donald Trump has any speech impediments. It's just that he is from New York and thus has a very fucking thick New Yorker accent.
Like with people in New Jersey, when they say certain things, it's like, it has like when they say coffee to us, we say, with people in the South, they say, I want some coffee. And then with Jersey people, it's like, I want some coffee.
Excuse?
It's like every dialect has their own, it's like every place has their own dialect.
I mean, it's like saying that the way Americans, Irish, Scottish, and the English and the Australians, it's like saying we all speak the same way. No, we don't. Even in America, where you're from heavily dictates how you
speak.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why it sort of irritates me when people come up to me and say, oh, you speak Mexican? No, I don't speak Mexican because that's not even a language. It's Spanish. Mexican is a culture. That is an ethnicity. I am not Mexican.
Nobody ever expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah. God.
wheezing.
You know, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of upsetting when people assume, what you are or who you are as a person or what kind of language you speak. I think that's what I miss the most is people talking to each other and having conversations with each other and getting to know each other. And that's like another thing that kind of bothers me is how high tech our society has become.
It's not even high tech. We're just divided. It's either you're on one side of the spectrum or you're on the other side.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Everything has become
but nobody wants to be in the middle.
So impersonal these days. Like it's like you can't even really write. Like if you wanted to write a romantic letter, handwritten love letters were the most romantic thing ever about 15 years ago.
Like now, oh my god, like why can't you just text me it? Like,
exactly.
Post it on Facebook or else no one will know that you love me.
Exactly.
Oh,
gee. Exactly. Like me and Gavin had a conversation about this a couple weeks ago. And he was like, with all my exes, they felt like it was my obligation to write sweet things for them on Facebook. He's like, why can't I just show my love to you when it's just the two of us? If I want to actually say it in person, why does it need to be on Facebook so everyone can see it? And that's a good point. Why have we become so? We've become people that need,
why do we need
that
to
need
prove
validation
ourselves to everyone else?
Exactly.
I mean, how many
sweet
things have I written you on Facebook in the almost year we've been dating?
I mean, you tag me in fucking everything.
I tag you in fucking memes. Because I
doesn't
think
have to be
you'll...
memes.
That's
fucking
funny.
everything.
But that's funny. Like that you want to share because you want other people to have a laugh. But for me it's just the whole impersonal. Like why can't you just have an actual conversation? I understand if you need to use the phone to talk, but why does everything need to be over text? Because you'd be surprised how many things can get misconstrued over text.
Yeah.
Like you could be sending a message to her saying something that seems a little bit off, and that could possibly send her like freaking the out.
I mean, people will just text me thanks, and I'm like, wait, are we being genuine, or are you being sarcastic?
See?
And that was with my own mother.
I say thanks when I'm being sarcastic, and thank you with a possible heart if I'm being sincere.
But see, we have to explain these things to people over text. But see, if you actually have a conversation with someone, you see their body language, you see their facial expression, okay.
I mean, even then it goes right over some people's heads.
My thank yous are either normally punctuated with a heart or a thanks, asshole.
Yeah, okay. But see, that's what I'm saying. You have to go into explanation when it comes to texting.
I mean,
it's so
for
impersonal.
me, I just make it as obvious as possible. Like, if I'm being sarcastic, I'm like, well, thanks to you, fucking asshole.
Well, for me, see, I'm just the guy. Maybe it's just me because I'm old-fashioned. Like, don't get me wrong. I think cell phones and laptops and computers have done so much for us and have helped in so many ways. But in a way, they've also kind of taken away the genuine feelings of certain things. Yeah. At least to me.
I think what it is we've gone from one way of communication to another. And especially for those of us who grew up in the 90s, especially, like,
we were there when a lot of this stuff was happening.
And it's just weird because, and especially in the late 90s, for me, because everything was one way, and it's just changed so much in a short period of time. And it's like, yeah, it's changed a lot from, like, the 60s and, like, 70s from, like, when our parents were born, but it's like, that change also happened over a greater period of time. Like, change for us has happened, like, I know none of us right now are even 20 yet. And how much that's... Oh, yeah, you're 20. But it's just like, we can't even buy alcohol, but yet so much has changed from when we were, like, 6 to when we were 13.
Exactly. And, like, it's so crazy to think, because we were there for a lot of the stuff that was...
I mean, I remember when the way I still talked with, like, some of my friends away from school was email, because not everybody had a phone.
Exactly.
I found a picture...
I remember having a phone made you cool.
I remember finding a picture in my Google Drive a little while ago of me holding up a fucking flip phone and taking a picture of myself in the mirror. Like, I don't even take selfies, and I was like, where did this come from? And I'm like, I don't know if that was my first phone or, like, a phone down the line, but it was a freaking flip phone.
But that was the thing back then. Like, you got a flip phone and you felt like you were the most popular kid in school.
I mean,
like a motherfucker,
for me,
too.
I had, like, one of those basic phones where, you, like, clicking the button a million times just to send a text.
God, my dad used to have a BlackBerry.
And I didn't get a normal phone. I didn't get, like, what would be a normal phone. And this was an iPhone 3G. And I didn't get that till my freshman year of high school.
Dude,
I want to see if I can find that picture again.
Like, dude, this, like, I don't even know. Those phones have become so... You know, they don't even sell flip phones anymore.
No,
like,
they still do.
Yeah,
Where?
they do. My dad had one not long ago.
Yeah, they still
My
sell
dad
them.
is so
You
low
can still
tech.
buy them.
Yeah, because, like...
They're just in the far corner of the store. But they still exist.
Because some people just prefer to have it.
Look at this old phone. This one had a slide out for texting.
Yes, I had...
Yeah, I had that one because it was my dad's
There it
old
is.
phone.
I found it.
Me. That was me.
It's a dinky old red flip phone.
I know, but those were the thing back then. That was so exciting for us. Like, we got a flip phone, and we felt like, dude, guess what I got this weekend? I got a new flip phone.
Look at
No.
me taking a selfie with my Farron.
Oh my god.
I didn't get a phone that was mine until 5th grade, right at the end, pretty much when I finished elementary.
Yeah.
All the ones I got were from my brother.
My first phone...
Which
took a
was
while for me to
hilarious
get a
because he'd
good phone,
recorded
too.
and done hilarious shit, so I could just always listen to it, and it was wonderful. And I'm sorry, I got distracted by the lights on this thing for a minute and lost my train of thought.
Shiny.
So shiny.
Squirrel.
No, my first, like, kind of phone was the Firefly. I don't know if you guys remember this.
Oh yeah, I had that
But
thing,
yes,
and it had fucking program numbers. You couldn't add anything,
Yeah,
and
you
it was
couldn't
just
add
like
anyone. You could, like, it had buttons, too. You could call your mom, your dad, and the police. That was the
no.
only one.
And if your parents wanted, they could like put somebody else's number in it.
Yeah,
But
like,
that was it.
my
But it
parents
was
had mine
complicated.
tracked. They
My
put a tracker
mom
on my
decided not to do that kind of thing. She gave me my first phone.
The Firefly was fucking cool because you could do. I loved it because you could do
Good
all these fucking colors and shit with it, and I enjoyed that.
I always loved. That's why I always loved turning it off and then back on because all the little colors would come up.
Yeah,
and
I
it was
mean,
just so
like, I was glad when I got my first phone. Like, it was nice.
cool. I kind of miss that Firefly though.
But it's like, honestly,
I have a lot of my old phones.
like, 5-year-old me, 5-year-old little shit-ass Dylan thought that the Firefly was like the coolest goddamn thing on earth, and I was the hottest shit for having it. I mean, granted, like, I never went to school with it, but, like, if I went out somewhere, like, yeah, I had to bring that thing with me, and it's like, if I'm home alone, it's like, I get bored, I'd be like, oh, hey, here's the button to call mom. Boom, I'm calling mom. Look who's the badass now.
Oh my god. Originally, when I got my phones, like, I had a really bad problem with losing them. Because I just never used them. Like, when I started actually, like, using my phone and keeping it, it was probably because I started talking with my closest friend, Kalia, and we started role-playing and stuff. Probably when I started actually keeping it on me. The only person who would call me was my dad, so I was just like,
It's like, oh no, I need it.
yeah.
I mean,
And then my dad would pitch a huge fit over me losing it.
every now and then, like, when I got my brother's first hand-me-down phone, like, I brought it to school, and everyone's like, yo, you have a phone! And I'm like, that's right.
Yeah.
And, like, you were the hottest shit on the playground. If you just had a phone. Not a newest one, not anything. Just had a phone.
I got my Firefly when I was in 3rd grade, so I felt pretty cool. But then eventually I saw all these kids with these other kinds of phones, and I was like, are you kidding me? I feel like such a loser. Look at my bitch ass being so proud of getting a Firefly where I could only call my mom and my dad.
Oh, God. By the time I had gotten to
Just
the point where
imagine.
I had my iPhone, the phone I had wasn't working. It was one of those slide-up ones.
Yeah.
And the keys themselves half worked. Everything on the main, like, the main buttons on the front when it's, like, closed only worked if it was closed. That was the only way for me to navigate and use it.
It's like it worked, but it didn't.
It was just so old that it was falling apart, and I'm just like, I mean, I barely took it with me anywhere, and I barely used it because you could barely use it. It could barely make calls.
Speaking of me being infamous for losing my phone, at one point I lost my phone in the snow when I went out chasing the dogs a long time ago. It was my phone that had a slide-out keyboard to text. I lost that in the snow. My dad found it after all the snow had thawed, and it still works to this day.
6 or 7 months after I got my first phone, my first
I did
new
that to
phone.
this phone. No, it would have died a long time
Oh
ago.
my gosh.
No, my first phone that was mine, like my first new phone, the one I got after elementary, really bad rainstorm after one day in 6th grade. And this is when my grandma still lived directly next to my middle school. So instead of having someone pick me up, every now and then I would just ride my bike over there.
Mm-hmm.
I just took a bike. And that's how I got from point A to point B. And just one bad rainstorm, it got in right to the battery or something, and that was it.
Dang.
It never worked again.
My mom once dropped one of my phones in freaking Coca-Cola. I was so mad. Her cup holder in her car was overflowing with Coca-Cola, and she dropped my phone in it. That phone never worked right again, but it turned back on. By some miracle, it stayed working-ish for a while. Eventually I got a new one. I don't remember which one that was.
My parents were not all about replacing one. Like, I think my favorite one I had, which was my brother's second phone, I'd lost the charger to it. My parents didn't even go out of the way to buy me a new charger for it. They're like, you done fucked up, you're getting your dad's old phone. Alright. I guess that's the end of the first Lightly Salted podcast.
I'm freaking salty. No, I'm not salty. I'm freaking marinated.